Hey, you've had this incredible career as a filmmaker, and I don't know, do you kind of consider it a knack for finding these stories, or is it, I mean, it's obviously, it's part of like the job, is kind of finding your next project, right? Yeah. How do you kind of find your next project?
Right. I find my projects in two ways. One, I see something interesting and I'm like, that should be a movie. And by the way, or a documentary. And by the way, if any of you have that impulse, it's a curse. This film took, I mean, there are worse curses, but like this film took a number of years to make. It's only 30 minutes, and it didn't take that long because of, I can't say because of funding or because of whatever, other than I have so many things I've seen that are interesting that I'm all trying to do them all at the same time. The other way that I find projects is basically people offer to pay me, so that's cool. But as far as you said, as far as making a knack for choosing, I don't know. I did mention in my little talk earlier that I'm choosy. So, and I've done that from the very beginning since I was in school and right out of film school. And so even though I say people come, I like to take something that I'm going to find interesting for a year or more sometimes. I'm often hired more often as editor, and if I'm director or producer, those are more things that I generate, which is often the case in documentary. It's like, if you want to make a film, you go out and just do it. But the kinds of stories I've done, as you can see with Rewalk, this one is, my choice is to do films that I'm going to find inspiring, and films where I'm going to, about people I admire, basically, and so I can benefit from their, their work ethic and their dedication to doing good works. So that's kind of my thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing to have these great ideas, and another thing to find people to pay for to make the films with ideas. And in the talk earlier, you talked about you had an idea and you pitched to Discovery Channel, and there's a lot of between I have an idea and I pitch to Discovery Channel. Like, you just the website, you go to the pitch phone. There's an 800 number on the website where you the pitch. Like how do you develop those connections?
Right. So there is no 800 number, although. The one thing you do learn, and actually History Channel, but that I did a documentary about Einstein for, that one came to me through actually a friend of mine who has a big production company that does a lot of shows for History Channel. So they had come to him, and then he came to me, but then I had to pitch the idea. They just said, would you like to do a film about Einstein? We'd love you to do that, but you find the story, and then you convince us that'll be the way we want to cover Einstein. You are someone that wants to make films. Here's the thing I learned that's kind of amazing. There is no 800 number. However, all the networks and all the funders and anyone who can help get something going and are desperate for good ideas. Not good ideas, good films. And another thing you said is like, where do you get your ideas? I'm not being flip when I say ideas are cheap. Everybody has a good idea. It's all in the execution. It's all in the quality of the storytelling. I like to say, look, there's no shortage of, cop shows on TV or medical shows or something like that. And the ones that are good are just going to be good because they're great, they're well written and well produced. If you have an idea and you do want to get it to places like Discovery Channel or so forth, there's no shortage of, by the way, film festivals or any other opportunities where they have discussions and they invite people, and certainly a lot in New York, and I'm guessing Los Angeles, and I don't know about here maybe, where you can go, like, I don't know, does SIF, or do STIF or SIF have panels where network people come?
No.
Oh, okay.
So STIF doesn't, because we're just an emerging filmmaker festival, and
right.
SIF does a little tiny bit, but they're an audience-based festival, not an industry festival.
Right.
So it's those industry festivals where you really find those kind of people.
Right. There's a whole other layer, by the way, that you can look for, which is the production companies, because it's actually the production companies that are making the things. History Channel doesn't have a studio; they don't make anything. They hire. It's all independent people making films. So anyway, find places where you can approach them, and if you have a good idea, find mentors. There's tons of pro bono organizations of all kinds. And if you find fellow filmmakers, we're all happy to help. We're all in the same boat, so you can have someone help you make your pitch and get it. You can get a meeting. Everybody can get a meeting. So.
The Hoarders TV show is produced here out of Seattle. There's a crab fishing Alaska show that's here out of Seattle. So yeah, they're absolutely the people that are making these shows are absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Does you guys have some questions? Here we go, Patricia.
So how did you get access to the VA? That's not so easy.
No, I'm glad you asked that because I cannot underestimate, cannot say enough how important my partner Michael Lesser, whose name you see here, was. He is a longtime veteran filmmaker. Comes out of this. I worked for Maisels Films. If any of you know the Maisels brothers, only one of the Maisels brothers was alive when I worked for them. But Michael was a cameraman for them and an assistant camera for them. Going, wait, he's a hardcore, old school documentary filmmaker. And what happened was I had an intern who just randomly got hired to go make a little, like a little video for the department, totally randomly. This is how the things come about. This intern of mine was Italian, and his father in Italy happened to be a doctor who had a similar clinic to this. And so somehow his father knew them and said, hey, son, Francesco, you should go up to the Bronx and talk to them and da-da-da-da. So he went up, he made this little video, and I helped him with that. And then I was like, this is like an amazing story. This could be there's more depth here than just that. So they were kind of okay with that, but they said to me, we really need you. I have no experience filming in either a hospital, let alone a VA hospital, Veterans Hospital. And there's a lot of sensitivity, as you can imagine, for all different reasons, beyond what you would even have in a hospital. And so they said, we need you to be working with someone who has experience at that level. And so, actually, originally, another friend of mine who I made Being Elma with, Connie Marks, was helping me, and then she was unavailable. And so I went to Michael, who has done many, many, many things in hospitals, in veterans, done a lot of work with veterans. So that was how the access came. They asked for, they asked for only one thing, and that was that they get to see it before. They had no final cut, they had no editorial control, they understood that would have been weird or impossible. But it was kind of wild. I mean, we had someone came up from the Pentagon, and then we met with the head of the hospital in New York. It's the Bronx, Peterson VA Medical Center. And so I had these I don't know, they were Marines or what, high brass, and we saw the Sergeant Major in the film. And we played the movie, lights come up, and we're just in a conference room. All these guys are bawling, they're just crying. And it was really wonderful because they do this work. It's not that it was like, oh, look what those people are doing. They were like, this is what we do. And as you also can imagine, the VA, and they do a lot of good. And the people that work there are incredible. So anything that helps show, really the caring that goes on underneath all the controversies that can happen too. So.
Cool. There's one in the back. Yeah.
Did you fund this yourself, and what cameras did you use?
Those two go hand in hand. Did you fund these yourself, and what camera did you use? The cheapest camera possible, and yes. No. This one we did fund ourselves because it was easy. That's another reason when you talk about what ideas can you do. Well, fortunately in New York, although I say this is true anywhere, but as they say in New York, there are 8 million people and there are 8 million stories. This was something that was local that I could go and we could easily do in our spare time. The camera we used, and in fact, but us buying a particular camera was sort of the beginning of this project too. Michael and I bought it together. A Canon C100. It's interesting you say, apologies to Canon, but I was really disappointed with that. The look of it is beautiful, but it's not a great handheld camera. There's actually, I must say that there's 2 cameras used. Michael was using the big C100 on a tripod and shooting those stuff. The crazy zooms and shaky stuff, that's me. That's my specialty. And that was with a Canon 60D. So.
Maybe one more, go ahead, yeah?
So,
this one really portrays the program in a very positive light, and there's discussion about the international research. It has to help get attention, it has to help get more money for these folks.
As the film, this is the world premiere.
Well,
So take out your wallets. We're going to pass a gigantic hat. No, I'm hoping it will. As I was telling Tim, I mean, making a film is a long, and especially an independent film, is often a long, somewhat lonely process. Now, if you're an introvert like I am, and a lot of editors are, that's great to be alone for a very long time, but eventually it's amazing to get it out in the world. And for me, one of the greatest things about making a documentary is, I have gotten to the point where I can get, I can make a living at it, which gets me going. But what really is rewarding is being able to make something that's going to help somebody. And so, very much, I'm hoping that, the VA hospitals in particular, but any group, if you can think of all different kinds of groups, could find benefit in it. I'm all for that, and I love doing discussions. And we're talking more directly about the film, but it's great to go places and show a documentary and then start a discussion among the community. Like certainly your Australian film really, and you probably have had a lot of amazing discussions that begin, right? Discussion starters. Documentaries are great discussion starters and fire starters. So. That's the last thing. I would say that if anyone here is a documentary filmmaker or aspiring or into it, whatever, it's that outreach phase that actually can help you make the film often more than just the film. So don't think of just the idea itself, but think about what you can do for it. And it's often that educational phase that if you can get to the end of the film, if you can get a shot or at least get it long enough, you can start to show people something. Many philanthropies, once they see how it can be used to carry out their mission or foster their mission, they're really into that. So, yeah. So, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll just say that this is the world premiere, and just like you said, it's a 30-minute film, and I was nervous, but then Tim emailed me and invited me here to bring with this film, and I learned it was a technology festival as well as documentary, which is very rare. And I was like, as I said earlier, my people, my geeks. So it really was, this is very wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and your film was originally submitted to STIP, so we accept submissions for Tech Doc Fest and also STIP, and so we kind of fill up as much as we can with what's submitted to Tech Doc Fest, and we look at STIP to fill some holes. And so we've kind of already talked about, we're definitely going to show the film at STIP this year also. So if you're watching this online, make sure and be prepared. It's the last weekend in July, so definitely be here to
If you're
watch.
watching this online, the trolls goes to the audience.
All right, so we're gonna take like a 10-minute break and so grab drinks and everything. At this point, it's the award ceremony and the party, so the drinks are all on the house, are all on the festival. They're actually on the Living Computer Museum and the Heritage Distillery and the Hellbent Brewery. So yeah, grab something or some popcorn or whatever and hang out. We're gonna get the award started in about 10 minutes.